Welcome everybody to the webinar. Today we are going to be reviewing the topic recurring maintenance activities in Microsoft Dynamics 365. Uh, the idea is that, and as probably all of you know, as soon as we start using Dynamics 365 CRM, there is a lot of information that is going to be in the system, generating additional story, generating additional, additional space or consume that we need to be reviewing and that we need to be monitoring if we don't want to have an additional cost or if we don't want to have an additional performance decrease in terms of the time that we are using the platform. So over the time, all the information that we record in CRM represent additional storage. So basically, the topic today is how we can control that. What can we do to reduce the storage or to reduce the information that we are having in our system, because most of the information is going to be not useful over time. So the idea of this webinar is try to highlight the possible things that we could do in terms of remain our performance in the best possible way. Okay, so there is three main considerations that I want to highlight before I start doing this. Is the first thing is that there are some suggestions or there are some processes that represent delete information, delete notes, delete attachments, probably delete some emails or delete some attachments on the emails. So just keep in mind that the information that you delete on CRM is information that you cannot recover later. So all the things that you are going to be doing or that you are planning to do must be very careful, because you need to define the period of time correctly. You need to be sure what's the information that you want to delete, because later it's not going to be a way to recover that information. Okay. Uh, Most of the procedures that we are going to be describing today are going to be procedures that you should be doing with a system administrator user. It's not something that any user could do. Is just some processes or main or most of the processes are going to be processes that the system administrator needs to do. So just keep in mind that you need to have the appropriate role. Um, Additionally, taking in account that as soon as you delete or as soon as you do all the processes that we are describing here, if you enter to the platform to review what's the storage that you are using, that information is not going to be immediately presented in the portal. So probably if you reduce or you delete some information today, the information is going to be reflected at the next day. Okay, so it's important to keep in mind that. Okay. There are three main things that you could do, or there are three main topics that you need to reduce or that you need to monitor in when you're trying to do this kind of maintenance process. So the first thing is going to be the files or the files storage. The second one is going to be the logs, and the third one is going to be the database. In terms of cost, files and logs are not too expensive, but in terms of database, the cost is considerable. So that's why I recommend try to be pretty um, focused on this one. Okay. So in terms of files, the first thing that we suggest to do is remove the emails attachment using an advanced one. Why I recommend use an advanced one? Because it's the easiest way to define criteria, to define filters, and it's a really easy way to identify native information. Like for example, in this example, I'm just creating an advanced line that is going to be reviewing email messages. And look for, you could see that you have email messages. And in the criteria, you could add one that just say the attachment items is greater than 1 MB, for example, in this case. Okay, but you could say, okay, I'm not going to delete all the attachments. I just want to delete the ones that probably has more than 5 MB or something like that. So it's the easiest way to identify the record. As soon as you click on results, you could just select it and delete it. But it's something totally manually. But it's something that you could do just to know what's proportion on what's the quantity of emails that you have with that criteria. So the properly way to do it is probably create a bool delete job. Okay, so you could go to settings, go to data management, and create a bool delete job with these criteria. Basically, what we are doing here is, okay, we are going to be deleting all the email messages that are in status completed, that are older than 1 month, probably, that the attachment has more than 1 MB. And after that, we just select the criteria, create the and relation, and after that, just create unsave it. So what I was explaining previously, you just actually, I don't know if some of you probably don't enter to data management ever. So if you go to CRM, you could just click here and click in advanced settings. And when you enter to advanced settings, you could enter to data management. And here you could click on bulk delete, bulk record deletion. So what you could do here is just create a process that is going to be running in background and it's going to be deleting information. You could do it just one time or just configure it to be recurrencing. But basically is in that section. So you should enter to data management and after that you just enter to the deleting record process. So what we are doing here is just create one process that is going to be in email messages. It's going to be reviewing the completed older than 1 month. You should select both of them, and as soon as you select it, you could click here in group and just to be sure that the two conditions are applied. And then you could define, okay, and in the attachments is greater than 1 MB or 5 MB or whatever you want. You just need to click on next. As soon as you click on next, the system is going to require some additional information. The first one is going to be the name. My suggestion is always define a name that allows you to identify what you configured later. Because if you leave it with the standard with the default name, it's going to be like full deletion and a date. And later, if you want to know what exactly you delete there, you should enter to the task, review the condition. It's going to be more complex. So just in the name, describe something like, okay, delete emails with more than 1 GB attachment or something like that. So it's going to be pretty simple. And then just define the date if you want it. Later, you could define if you want to run the process more than one time. Like, for example, in my case, I define, okay, schedule this to run every 30 days. So every 30 days, I'm going to be reviewing the emails with more than 1 month and just deleting them. So in that way, I'm just guaranteed that in my system there's not emails with that specific features. Okay. And additionally, I could configure that if something happened, please notify to someone. So I could define here my email or something like that. And if something happened, if the process failed or something like that, the system is going to be notifying me. Okay, so the first activity of maintenance that we suggest to do is delete the emails that you don't need. The second one is remove the notes with attachments. So basically, we are focused at the moment in files. So that's why I'm just deleting attachments. I'm just deleting attachments in the notes. And the process is basically the same. But the only thing is that you're going to be doing a query or an advanced find in the notes. Okay. And again, you could configure a bool deletion job with that specific conditions. And after that, just schedule that to be running every 30 days or every 15 days or whatever. Something to mention, probably if you click here, there is a group of options that are available there. But if you want to run every 14 days, you could just write 14 and just click on next and it's going to work. Okay. But by default, the system is going to be suggesting you a group of options. Okay. So in terms of files, those are the things that you could do. Delete the attachments on the emails and delete the attachments in the notes. Basically, those are the things that require more storage. So that's the thing that you need to delete. In terms of the log, of the log. The first thing that you need to do is go to the auditing settings. So you go to settings, enter to auditing, and in the auditing area is going to be something called audio log management. So if you enter here, probably here, audio log management, I think that this changed a little bit because now I think that is just moving to Power Platform. Yes. So by default, you could see all the logs that you have it, and the idea is just delete the older ones. Okay, but here, when you enter here, you could delete by dates, you could delete by a specific types, or you could delete it within a specific days. All logs including selected dates. Okay, so if you don't know exactly what you want to delete, my suggestion is enter to be audio logs, and there you could define what exactly do you want to delete. But by default, like say by table, select tables, you could define if you want to delete a specific tables if you want it. Sorry about that. And that way you could just delete the information in terms of the audits. Okay, so audits is enabled. If you enter here to manage, you could configure some additional information. Like for example, what is the audit configuration that is available at the moment? And additionally, if you want to delete, you could delete the information here as well. So here is going to be all the audit in the system, and you could delete it there immediately. Okay. So basically, enter to audit, select the record that you want to delete, and just delete the information. That's something that is not going to be too much, but sometimes you need to be careful with that. Okay, how do you know if you require these activities or not? Because I mean, probably you could enter just here to Power Platform and be sure that you are in your tenant. Enter to resources and click on capacity. And here you could see how you are in terms of all of this. So how you are in terms of file, how you are in terms of logs, how you are in terms of database. So if you are not too near to the limit, probably okay, be okay. But my suggestion is always try to configure these processes before you have the issue. Okay. So now we are going to be reviewing what you could do in terms of database. Probably this is the more complex one because there's not too much thing that you could do. You could delete, for example, all the workflow instances. What is that? Every time that you do a process, like for example, create a flow, create an opportunity, or whatever, probably are going to be workflows that are going to be start. And as soon as those processes start, the system is going to be leaving some logs. The idea with this is create a process for deletion that is going to be on system job types. Sorry, you are going to be querying the system jobs. You need to filter with the system jobs types equal to email and workflows. That is going to be success, and that's going to be older than 1 month. So that's information that you could delete it. I mean, you are not going to require that for anything. So just delete that information, just create a process that run every 30 days, and that's it. That's something that is going to be remaining your information as you need it. Additionally, you could review and delete some suspended workflows. So what is that? You could do an advanced find. My suggestion is don't schedule this because this requires an additional analysis. So you need to do an advanced find, and you need to define what are the system jobs that probably are still in waiting. It's not usual that the workflow is staying in waiting for more than 1 day. Okay, so if you have workflows that probably are going to have more than 1 day in waiting, probably already have an error or probably are not properly configured, so you need to review it. If you have processes that are waiting for more than 1 day, it's something that you could validate because as soon as you have those processes running in memory is going to generate some additional effort for the system. So try to review it and try to configure it differently to try to avoid that processes on memory running. Okay. Something additional that you could delete is that you could delete the import instances. So what is that? Every time that you import a file, import an Excel file or something like that, the system is going to generate some logs. And those logs are going to contain all the information that you're importing, that all information that generate errors, all information that the system processes in the during the import process. So it means that if, for example, you import 1,000 of contacts, that information is going to be in the logs of the import, and additionally, it's going to be in the contacts because the contacts are already created. So you don't need that information again in the logs of the processes. So that's information that you could delete it. Could be something that you could configure to be recurrence. And the conditions that you need to be configuring there is going to be a query in the system jobs, sorry, and with these filters, it's going to be a system job type import that is going to be succeeded and older than 1 month. And in that way, you could configure and the process is going to be running every 30 days and it's going to be remaining just the information that you require. Additionally, you could create a process to delete the bool deletion job instances. So as every time that one process of deletion execute leaves logs again. So that's information that you could delete as well, and it's not going to affect your system, it's not going to affect your data. So it's just to delete the information or delete the logs that are not going to be useful anymore because already executed. At least I think that probably you could delete the information older than 1 month. A log that happened or something that happened 1 month ago is not pretty relevant at the moment because the information already changed a lot. So it's information that for sure you're not going to be requiring. So my suggestion or our suggestion is delete the information and try to reduce the amount of things that you have in your system that probably are not going to be used. Uh, this is something additionally, but probably uh, uh, it takes more complexity in terms of that you need to know a lot of the system to define what do you want to remove. But basically, when you configure an entity, you could define something called relevance search. That is going to be the columns that are going to be in the system to do like a global search. Uh, so if you remove the number of columns that you have there, you could have less storage in terms of the information. So how to configure that? Probably, actually, I just leave it here, but you just need to come here and validate how to configure the 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 relevant search to reduce. But basically, you need to enter to each entity and validate what are the columns that you want to configure, like relevant search. And if you do that, you could reduce the storage that you are using in terms of the search. Okay. Well, basically, those are the main activities that you could do. You could delete files, you could delete logs, you could delete database, and the only way that you really are going to be understanding how to do it is do it by yourself. So if you don't want to try in your production or in your real CRM instance, you could do it this one. You could use this one. This is a Optimus demonstration instance. You could enter here with this user and this password, and you could enter, validate, create your own processes, review it, and interact with the system. And as soon as you feel comfortable with the things that you are reviewing in the instance, just go to your own instance and try to do it by yourself. Okay? Thanks a lot for the attention. This is a webinar that it doesn't take too much because there's not many, I mean, there's not much information to have in terms of maintenance, at least in the first level maintenance. but it's information that probably if you include that in your instances, or if you include that in your CRMs, you are going to reduce a lot of the storage that you're having, and you are going to reduce the cost that this is going to generate in terms of the storage that you are using. Thanks a lot for your time, and have a great weekend.